Spotlight.
This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Bachat Utsav begins GST 2.0 to cut prices, boost savings for all. The participants are Shraiy Suri, Joint Commissioner GST CBIC, and Dr. Ravindra Kumar, Director CBIC. Moderator is Arjun J. Chaudhuri, Anchor.
I'm joined by Dr. Ravindra Kumar, who is a director at the Tax Research Unit in the Ministry of Finance, and Mr. Shraiy Suri, Joint Commissioner GST Policy Wing. A warm welcome to you on this program. Today's topic of discussion is on Bachat Utsav, the Savings Festival, which begins on the 22nd of September, coinciding with Navratri. The benefits of the prices cut for consumers, which is as a result of GST. We have two experts, Shraiy Suri ji, who is Joint Commissioner GST Policy Wing, and he would be talking about the Bachat in GST from the goods perspective. And we have Dr. Ravindra Kumar, Director, Tax Research with the Ministry of Finance, who would be talking about Bachat on GST from the services side.
Thank you.
Mr. Suri, it's good to have you on this program.
Thank you so much.
Let's now hear what Prime Minister Narendra Modi had to say on goods and services tax.
मैं आपको जीएसटी बचत उत्सव की फिर से एक बार बधाई दूंगा। नेक्स्ट जनरेशन जीएसटी रिफॉर्म का भी बहुत बड़ा फायदा उन्हें ही मिलने वाला है। आपको अब हर महीने घर के बजट में बहुत राहत मिलने वाली। किचन का सामान हो, बच्चों की पढ़ाई की चीजें हो, जूते कपड़े हो, अब ये और सस्ते हो गए हैं।
Dr. Ravindra Kumar, for the benefit of our listeners on Akashvani, could you tell us what are the different tax slabs on services when it comes to computing GST? What is exempted? What is a nil rate? What is the 5% levy on those services? What is the 18% levy on services? And what is the 40% levy on services?
Earlier, there were 4 slabs. One slab was a 5%, there was another slab, it was 12%, and another was the 18%, that is a standard rate, and one was 28%. There were few services on the 28. Now this 28 has been removed. We have taken those services to the 40%, and now we have only 2 slabs, that is 5% or 18%. So all the 12% services which were falling there, we have kept now in 5% or 18%. Maximum we have tried our best to keep them on 5%. That is a specific rate, and 18% is the standard rate.
And typically, whenever you talk about GST, we're talking about what is the Bachat on the goods side, but there is also a procedure that's involved in computing what the GST rate is, especially from the producer's side when it comes to all the compliances involved and the audit of your financial transactions. So to understand in a little bit more detail, we have Mr. Suri here explaining to us what the procedure is. And typically, we're talking about registration and refund as well. Mr. Suri, for the benefit of our listeners who want to understand indirect taxes and the procedure associated with it in the most simplified manner, could you tell us how the registration of GST is done?
First of all, registration is the point where a taxpayer will enter the GST network. So how this will work is that you apply to the department through the online portal and your documents are scrutinized. Right now, there are certain complaints, there are certain issues in the whole process which is causing a delay in the whole process. What the department has tried to do, or what the GST Council has now recommended, is to have a simplified registration process, basically targeted at smaller taxpayers. So the threshold right now, the ceiling is 2.5 lakh rupees worth of ITC to be passed on every month. If any taxpayer in his own assessment is below this ceiling, you can get an automated registration within 3 working days. This will help a lot of new businesses, entrepreneurs to kickstart their businesses, and at a time when they need to focus their energies on their business, it'll take them away from the compliance burden side. The second aspect where the 56 GST Council has actually made life simpler is a in-principle approval to modified registration mechanism for smaller taxpayers. So taxpayers who have a registered place of business in one state but wish to make supplies or undertake supplies of goods from another state through a e-commerce operator can do so without maintaining an office there. So essentially, as you can understand, and office and associated paraphernalia will be an additional cost for this business. This has been done away with. The modalities of the scheme will be placed before the GST Council very soon, and I'm sure this scheme will help smaller taxpayers to compete with their larger brethren on a national scale.
Dr. Ravindra Kumar, Navratri, 9 days of these festivities, there would be a lot of consumption, spending by the citizens of India. They would like to go out, they would like to eat, they would like to enjoy themselves. There will be travel and tourism as well. Where do you see the cut in GST benefiting the average person?
First of all, with respect to the Navratra, these are very good efforts made by the government to give benefits to our citizens. First of all, you are talking about the tourism. Now, earlier there was rate, it was a very high rate, it was 12%. Now up to the 7,500 room rent hotel, up to that extent we have capped it on a 5%. So we will try our best to keep whatever our tourism was going outside like Thailand or other countries. Now we will try our tourists should go and visit India as an incredible India.
And what about restaurants? Because you eat out as well, the services provided by the catering services to those who are ordering a meal, for instance. You did explain to us that when you rent a room, if the rent is below 7,500, then there's a 5% GST. But when you're ordering a meal, what is the GST on that?
Yeah, it is on 5%.
And do you see this as a boost for the tourism sector when you are availing a flight, using the train services, using transportation for commuting? What is the GST rate for those services when it comes to transportation, public transportation?
Transportation earlier was also, it was 5%. Now only other than economy class, that is for business class, earlier it was on a 12%. Now because we don't have 12% rates, that is why we have capped it 18%. Otherwise all the services in transportation, these were at 5% earlier also. Now again we have given one option to these bus fleet owners who are having like Zing and all big fleet owner. They can avail 18% rate also, and they can use 5% without credit, because most of the services which are falling under this without 5%, these are without credit, so they will not be able to take the credit on the services used in providing the services at the rate of 5%.
And of course the average citizen of India likes to communicate, they need to get in touch with friends and family. How do you see internet connectivity and telecom services? How do you see the GST rate on those services?
This service earlier was also at the 18%, because in this service lot of ITC is involved, because spectrum cost it's very high and all the equipments which are again falling on 18%. So if we will reduce this rate, then there will be implication for the revenue inversion, ITC inversion. So that is why we have not touched upon this service, because there is huge ITC availability. If we reduce and come down, bring down to the 5%, then there will be cascading and they will take this amount in the costing. So if we will bring down the rate of tax, they will enhance their value. So that is why there is no need, because there is a clear ITC. They can avail the benefits of ITC and there is no inversion. If we will make some inversion, then again they will make the rate higher.
Let's now hear what consumers have to say on the occasion of Navratri in terms of their bachat when it comes to consumer spending.
22 तारीख के बाद हम लोग का जीएसटी का दर कम हो गया है। पहले बाजार का पोजीशन बहुत खराब था, लेकिन अब 22 तारीख के बाद हम लोग का जीएसटी का दर कम हो गया है। बाजार में बहुत भीड़ रहेगी और पहले की अपेक्षा जीएसटी कम होने के कारण बाजार हर क्षेत्र में इससे है, सो बाजार दशहरा का पूजा का बाजार बहुत अच्छी रहेगी।
वाले महिला है वो लोग सारे खुश है कि अब रसोई में जो हम लोग बढ़ चढ़ के खाना भी बना सकते हैं, खिला भी सकते हैं।
Dr. Ravindra Kumar, finally my question, which is really on the fingertips of your typical parent, education and medical services. What is the GST rate on those services?
Maximum medical services are exempt. Education totally exempt. These are exempted services. Like beauty services, like you say, beauty is also again in this GST 2.02. We have brought down this service again to the 5%. Earlier it was on the 18%, like yoga, gym, fitness center, barber. There are so many things in this beauty treatment. Yes, if that is cosmetic surgery and all these are for beauty purposes, these will be on 18%. Earlier were also, because these are not for the human consumption, like आम आदमी की चीज ये नहीं है. That's why.
Dr. Ravindra Kumar, I would also like to ask you about the commercial movement of goods. When you talk about freight transportation, what is a GST rate for that? Because it affects your CPI whenever you're computing inflation, and that affects the average person in this country.
So what we have done earlier, that multimodal transport, if you are using the transport mode 2 or 3 modes, suppose first you are using truck, then you are using rail, and also you can use vessel or air also. So in this segment earlier the tax rate was 12%. Now if the multimodal is without air lag, so we have brought down this lag of journey, 2 or 3 journeys may be there, we have brought down to the 5% slab, and it is with credit in the similar line of business. Like if some GTA provider is charging suppose 18% or some train operator is providing 18%, that I am using those services, so I will be liable to take the benefit of the 5%, and there may be 2-3 services, but I am allowed with the ITC of 5%. Similarly, in the case of like if I am hiring the vehicles for goods transport, earlier that container transport operator, they were charging at a 12%. Now we have given the option, either they can charge at the 5% and without credit, and they can also charge 18% if they have a new entrepreneurship and they have lot of ITC. Similarly, in the goods transport also, there was a 12% rate on the hiring of trucks. Suppose some company want to hire the trucks, they were liable to charge at 12%. Now we have brought down this to the 5% without credit or similar line of credit and 18% with full credit.
On insurance, individual insurance, when it comes to health insurance, the GST is exempt. It's a nil rate. Can you explain us in more detail?
Yeah, right now because there were representations from the citizens and from the banking sector also. So on the basis of the request from the all sectors, we have brought down this personal life insurance, which includes family also, and the same thing for the health insurance, personal health insurance, we have brought down to the exempted nil, and reinsurance in those services again brought down to the nil. So that is why people can avail these insurance facilities and health insurance facilities to capture the market and to give the benefits to the citizens.
Mr. Suri, what are the reforms by the 56th GST Council in terms of refunds to businesses?
The 56th GST Council has actually taken the step ahead is that the refunds that have been affected by these changes are essentially exports. So for exports, wherever an exporter has availed goods and services and has availed ITC, so eligible ITC is due for a refund. Right now, even though it is within the legally mandated time, the time taken leads to working capital crunch for a business. What the GST Council has now recommended is to have a risk-based assessment of application. In this case, if you are eligible, if the taxpayer is eligible, of course, you can get a 90% provisional refund within a period of 7 days. Similar is the case for an inverted duty structure, which is a slightly different issue wherein the inputs are at a higher rate and the output is at a lower rate. So for instance, your input may be at 18% and output may be at 5%. In this case, a similar process of having a provisional refund will be there. The third issue, which again is catered to smaller taxpayers, is the low value exports. So essentially handicrafts, small taxpayers who are exporting goods where the refund due is below 1,000 rupees have till now not been able to get the refund. So since this is a very competitive segment in the international market, GST Council has taken a decision to allow these refunds as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shraiy Suri, Joint Commissioner GST, for giving us a simplified version of what the 56th GST Council meeting had to say to help businesses in order to save their operating costs and more importantly make them more efficient as well when it comes to the working capital. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravindra Kumar, for being with us on Akashvani and explaining to us in great depth and detail.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on Bachat Utsav Begins, GST 2.0 to cut prices, boost savings for all. The participants were Shraiy Suri, Joint Commissioner GST, CBIC, and Dr. Ravindra Kumar, Director, CBIC. The moderator was Arjun J. Chaudhuri, Anchor.
Spotlight.